Kia ora, hello, and welcome. This is Anyway, and I am your host, Natalie McMurray, coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Today, we're going to start with Ladies of London, episode 4. We open with the Englishwoman and Kimmy telling us how much they hate expressing emotions, almost as much as they hate Americans, it turns out. We then see Margot tell us that she got pregnant and basically forced her husband to marry her, which is maybe why he doesn't live in London with her. She says, if my family is against spending time in the UK, then it greatly reduces my ability to be here. No shit, Margot. We see Kimmy in her house, and we get a shot of one of her previously mentioned taxidermy birds. She tells us it's an Egyptian sacred ibis, which she says are now extinct. I'm here to say it looks exactly like an Australian ibis, which are everywhere there. And they're not sacred. In fact, they go by the less than flattering nickname bin chickens. So Kimmy has a stuffed bin chicken in her house. We then go on to see a plethora of stuffed taxidermy birds around Kimmy's house. She says that an amazing piece of taxidermy is the way that the animal is preserved and how it's posed. It looks like whomever taxidermied these birds was out to pose them in the most menacing way possible. Kimmy loves all of her pets to be dead, and to me that says a lot about her character. But I'm going to let that one slide because I'm obsessed with her. Kimmy calls the ladies to invite them to an art day. She tells Mark Francis about how the viticulture lunch was absolutely ruined by a bunch of whiny babies. Pun intended for Mark Francis. And he's outraged that wine would bring out any kind of negative emotion. It's almost like alcohol is a depressant or something. Mark Francis literally lives in the Gilded Age. If I had to picture Mark Francis's home in my head, I have to say that I definitely would not have seen so much gold. This may be controversial, but I find so much gold tacky. Like, what is this, Donald Trump's White House? And now I'm upset that I've just compared Mark Francis to Trump. Ugh. We see Emma arriving at Mark Francis's house, and she tells him about her health issues. She says that she had a health scare when she was pregnant and that she had a cyst on her pituitary gland, which has apparently gotten bigger since then. Emma says that she's still trying to process the news and that her way of dealing with it is to really not think about it or talk about it, which is a very British approach. We then see Margot meet up with Miss A, and Miss A tells us that she thinks the vineyard went well, which totally reminded me of Amanda from Summer House, asking what's the difference between a vineyard and a vinery. What is the difference between a vineyard and a vinery? I don't know. Margot lies by saying there's no way she wants to tell Miss A what Kimmy said in the car about Miss A's brother's death. You already told half of London, Margot. Liza Minnelli. Kimmy arrives at her art day, and Mika is talking to Martha about the scary painter dude that has a key to her house. Kimmy says, you're going to get raped or murdered, which is terrifying. Martha said she's okay, but it was scary at the time, and we still don't find out if she's changed her locks, leaving me personally with a huge amount of anxiety. I've been accused of being overly security conscious. I'm that way for numerous reasons, one of which has to do with a male who I considered a friend crossing multiple boundaries. I'm going to need Martha to change her locks. Don't make me fly over there and do it for you, Martha. Cut to Mark Francis in a car calling Emma a slag while she's jumping in. She says, I did not know Mark even owned a pair of jeans. I'm quite shocked. I have to say, seeing Mark Francis in jeans was quite jarring, especially after seeing the way his house is decorated. Mark tells everyone to shut up. Jeans are for painting, apparently. We then see a social post of Micah eating a banana with a knife and fork, which looks even more wrong than Mark Francis in a pair of jeans. Then we see Emma talking about how she's running a 10K marathon in Nairobi. And while it's for her charity, Tusk, which defends animals, which is amazing, didn't this woman just tell us she was rather sick? I'm not sure you should be running 10Ks, Emma. Kimmy is talking to Lottie about the dramatic experience that was the viticulture lunch. She says it took her 3 days to recover. Kimmy then gives us the line of the episode. She says, people are either fountains or they're drains. And most people are drains, which is beautiful and accurate. Kimmy has heard from Martha Magpie, who heard from Margot that Miss A is upset with her. Kimmy doesn't care. She's just trying to have a good time, damn it. The live drawing model then comes out and the ladies lose their composure. We then get to the painting section of the program. I'm not really here to judge anybody's painting skills, but Micah looks like she's painted a lizard with a penis. That probably says something about her subconscious, or mine for thinking it. Lottie is very smug about being good at drawing, because she went to an art school, you guys. Duh. Kimmy deems Martha as the winner, and Lottie acts like she's drawn Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. Calm it down, babes. Kimmy keeps referring to the winery lunch as the Debbie Downer party, which I know is in bad taste, but it did make me giggle. Nisei pulls Kimmy for a chat, and Kimmy is explaining to Nisei that she doesn't want to take away from the tragedy of her brother, but that the setting was perhaps not the most appropriate place for that information. Kimmy accuses Nisei of being an emotional vampire, reminding me of Vanessa Bayer's character in What We Do in the Shadows. Evie, who is an emotional vampire, who feeds off the pity and sadness generated by her outlandish stories of suffering and misfortune. Kimmy says you started a domino effect of sad stories. And the other women are watching, and they don't like Kimmy's tone towards Misei. Martha is the only one sticking up for Kimmy, perhaps because they're cut from the same cloth. Margot calls Kimmy a pint-sized Popeye, which is kind of funny. Misei is looking for an apology, and I was going to say she's barking out the wrong vagina, but Kimmy actually does apologize. Misei seems to reject that, and they agree to disagree. I get that this was a tragedy in Misei's life, obviously, we all do. But that doesn't mean that Kimmy hasn't been through tragedy too. She's just not willing to share it with you in your early stages of friendship, or perhaps not at all. As a person who has pretty high walls up when it comes to meeting new people, I get it. Ladies of London is very possibly my favourite show on Bravo at the moment. I think every one of these ladies has said or done something that has endeared me to them, except possibly Lottie. Can't wait to watch more bird content. Keep it coming. Now we're moving on over to the Hamptons with Summer House episode 8. We see a shot of Kyle literally DJing for no one, and I think to myself, this must be what it's like to attend one of his gigs. Kyle just standing there with a crown on his head, drinking alone, playing music for an empty room. Then we see a scene we've watched probably a million times before of Kyle moping around feeling sorry for himself, bitching about Amanda. You're isolating yourself, Kyle. What the fuck? Kyle then says, you know what? If I can't force these people to stay and watch me be a shitty DJ, I'll take the shitty DJing to them. He then proceeds to take a speaker outside where the rest of them are just talking and having a good time and blast his music right in their faces. Kyle then tries to call out Amanda for not supporting him in front of everyone else. Stop trying to embarrass your wife. She's already fucking embarrassed of you. Hence the reason she doesn't want to be anywhere near you. Kyle then storms off like a toddler and yells "fuck you" to Amanda. I really shouldn't compare him to a toddler because I've had one of those and she was much more tolerable than Kyle Cook, I'm sure. Amanda basically says she's used to Kyle speaking to her like shit and she doesn't want to engage with it anymore. Wes comes in to talk to Amanda in the bedroom. She breaks down and starts crying. And Amanda says something that made my blood run cold. She says, there was a part of me that was like, is this the best I'm ever going to do? It is wild to me that there was a number of years there that Amanda didn't think that she could do any better than Kyle. He broke her down to the point where she didn't think she was worthy of someone better. That is so sad. Thank God for divorce, am I right? Wes tells Kyle to apologize. He said, you said fuck you to her for no reason. To which Kyle says, she gave me fuck you eyes. And now I'm triggered. You can't look at my face and tell me what I'm thinking purely based on the expression that you think you see. That's your shit, not mine. Kyle says to Amanda, instead of hanging out with me, you're hanging out with every one of my friends. These people are both of your friends, Kyle. You're literally all hanging out as a group? The thing that I can't wrap my head around with Kyle is he's constantly saying Amanda doesn't want to hang out with him. She doesn't want to talk to him. She's isolating him. She doesn't support him. But from what we've heard, all he's been doing is traveling around the country DJing. What do you expect her to do? Drop all of her shit and be by your side 24/7? Amanda is not Joe Bradley, Kyle. She has her own shit going on. To me, it seems like he's pretending to be sad and depressed and needy, just so he can make Amanda look bad to everyone else. It's very much giving the man who perpetually cheats but is super paranoid that his partner is cheating on him. Kyle then calls Amanda a dumbass bitch. He's in the bathroom ranting as per usual, and he literally sounds like he's melting into a drunken puddle. If only that were the case. West goes in the bathroom to talk to Kyle, and Kyle says she has spent more time with you than me in the past 6 months. Yeah, that's because you're not around, and look at the way you talk to her when you are around. Fuck that. Kyle continues ranting and says that Amanda hates him. And here come the crocodile tears. Don't buy into it, West. We finally move on to much more important things in the summer house world, like Lindsay FaceTiming her daughter, which actually brought a tear to my eye, and Carl and Jesse doing a goofy dance in front of Amanda in bed. We see Mia asking Sierra how she felt about the conversation about race at dinner. Mia says she felt it was much needed. She tells Sierra that she appreciates everyone in the house holding space for a conversation like that, and not interjecting and not saying, I know what that feels like. Sierra then goes on to say that if she's going to have genuine friendships with white people, she's going to need to be open and honest. Sierra says that race isn't a comfortable topic for anyone to discuss, but it's uncomfortable for her if she has to hold everything in and not talk about it. In the kitchen, we see Amanda telling Lindsay about last night's events after she went to bed. She says that she got a cry in, which she hasn't done in a while, that she doesn't recall the last time she cried, but she cried like 3 times last night. And this is something I can very much relate to when it comes to SSRI antidepressants. While they're amazing and life-changing and all of the good things, when I was on them, I don't think I cried at all. I also found it hard to laugh and find shit genuinely funny. I'm not sure if that was just a me thing or if that's a thing in general. But yeah, I get the not crying thing. I really don't cry all that much in general, even when I'm not on antidepressants. Except for now when I'm watching live music. I'm not sure why, where it comes from, but the last couple of times I've gone to see a person or a band in concert, it's just like waterworks, out of nowhere. Maybe that's normal. I don't know. Later in the day, Lindsay and KJ are talking in the kitchen. They're talking about KJ and Dara's relationship. Then Lindsay drops a bomb on KJ by saying, what were Ben and Dara talking about in his room for over an hour? We then see a flashback of Bailey informing Lindsay that Dara went into Ben's room with one outfit and came out an hour later with another. I'm not really sure about the timeline of events on this one because it seems like KJ and Dara only just started dating, and they're also still dating in real time, so I assume this is nothing. Lindsay tells Sierra that she's wearing her zebra outfit to fuck with Carl, in a joking way. We then see a throwback to a few summers ago where they're talking about Carl being into zebras. I'm not really sure what the fuck that means, but I also remember last summer that Carl said he was into tan lines, or watched tan line porn. And now I'm also thinking about the tan lines on Lindsay's back while wearing the zebra outfit that she just jokingly said she was wearing to fuck with Kyle. Are you joking, Lindsay? Everyone then gets into the geriatric glam for Kyle's birthday. West is Mrs. Doubtfire, which is actually hilarious. We see Sierra coming down the stairs with her Zimmer frame, and those titties are throwing her off balance. For some reason, when they dress up as old people, they all seem to take on a different accent. I'm hearing a lot of Southern accents and also some British. I guess their elder alter egos are from somewhere else. West tells us that he thinks the Cartier watch is a cheating gift. I think it's a divorce gift. Dun dun dun! To be continued. Moving on to the Southern Charm Reunion Part 2. Back to the fake out that is Craig leaving. He says to one of the producers, "You villainize vulnerability." And I'm not even sure where to start unpacking that. I don't think Craig knows what the term vulnerable means. Hell, I'm not even sure I know what it means at this point. We then see everyone coming back from the break. Craig is under some delusion that he hasn't freaked out at all this season. And at this point, I'd like to say Andy is enabling him. Andy, stop, please. Have I been saying Craig or Craig? Oh my God, I don't know. Anyway, Craig says that he's always been nice to Vanita and will continue to be nice to her. What about the time you screamed at her that she doesn't exist in your world at a dinner table full of people? What the fuck? Vanita apologizes to Craig for speaking on this relationship, and he still barely acknowledges her existence. Fuck this guy, seriously. I've heard through the grapevine that there are a lot of women sticking up for Craig, and I just want to say, in the wise words of Danny Pellegrino, Girl, you need to love yourself. This dude is a fucking piece of shit. I know we all fell under his spell when he was first with Paige and we were all, OMG, he's such a sweetie and he sews and all of that. No, he sucks. And I don't believe this man would give half of the people sticking up for him the time of day. Please stop. Also, the shoes he's wearing do not match his suit. We find out that Craig said to Charlie at some point, "You can kiss me if you want," which is gross. And Charlie responds, "I'm good." We then find out that Charlie is dating Justin, the new guy from Southern Hospitality. Good luck with that. Craig says that he was strung along by Charlie. He then says that he was love-bombed. You weren't love-bombed, Craig. Charlie seemed genuinely interested in you until she saw how demonic you can be. Madison is sticking up for Craig for the 100th time this reunion, and I don't understand why, and I really wish she wouldn't. I love Madison, but I don't love that for her. Craig's over it. He doesn't want it to be pile on Craig Day anymore. He says he bottles everything up and it explodes. Molly can relate to Craig's anger issues. She says anger is almost always the second-hand emotion, which I fully understand. Everyone has their breaking point. And now I want to start singing Tina Turner. I'd like to see Craig taking more accountability and being actually vulnerable, which he seems to do for a split second towards the end. He also says that he's going to therapy, which I hope to God he isn't talking about ChatGPT this time. Remember when he said that ChatGPT is as good as therapy? That was wild. ChatGPT is an echo chamber, Craig. Moving on to the other Charleston crew. Let's talk about Southern Hospitality, Episode 4. Back at Molly's girls' night, these bitches go bobbing for cucumbers. Grace Lily is being a party pooper. She says she only gets on her knees for God, which nobody believes. She then asks Maddie, "Have you fucked Joe's ass?" Everyone is all WTF, Grace. And Maddie is like, "Why? Because you think I have a penis?" And at first I think Grace is thinking more of like a hunting wife situation where the wife is picking her sheriff husband. But no, she means because she heard Joe and TJ have hooked up. Grace is still fazed over the pajama situation. She then compares herself to Jesus Christ, and I think we all know what that means. She's lost it. She's lost touch with reality. Don't give us the God complex, Grace Lily. Mia loses her shit at Grace. She's going down the dark path of arguing with someone who's completely delusional, and you can never win at that game. Molly asks Grace Lily to leave. And watching her try to leave this room was like watching Mary Cosby try to enter the building that Meredith's bat mitzvah was in. Grace is looking for her phone behind Mia's butt, and Mia is still agitated. Then Grace goes to walk out and can't find a gap in the girls' circle. It was all kinds of awkward. Maddie talks about her relationship with Grace Lily and how exhausting it is, but ultimately the reason she sticks around is because Grace struggles with substance abuse, and Maddie wants to be there for her if anything were to happen. But she says she's not able to help, and she feels like it's draining all of her energy, so maybe she needs to cut Grace off. At Republic, Brad tells Justin that he saw Emmy at an event the other day, and she was cool with him until Emmy's fiance Will walked in. Then she completely blanked Brad and didn't talk to him for the rest of the night, so he's confused as to whether they're cool or not. Justin says that Emmy said to him that she only apologized and made up with Brad and TJ so they don't ruin her life. Brad is now wondering whether everything Emmy does is just an act. Yes, Brad. Yes, it is. Have you watched your own show? Everything she does is performative. Grace Lily meets up with a sobriety coach. She says 2 years ago she started to use ketamine. She says she was prescribed it for depression, but some days she didn't use it and other days she used it too much. She tells us that she recently lost a close friend who was using the same batch of ketamine. Grace says that she's sick of feeling trapped in her own body. Back at Republic, we see Lake and Brad having a conversation about how Brad doesn't feel supported by Lake when it comes to the microaggression that Emmy had been using towards Brad. Brad had assumed that Lake would have his back and let Emmy know that she was in the wrong. Then the door squeaks open and Joe Bradley interrupts to do his mid-shift hair zhuzh. Get out of here, Joe Bradley. Lake says that she does have Brad's back and she was trying to comfort Emmy because she's her friend too and she was upset. They are then interrupted again by Emmy bursting through the door and then waving apologetically and backing out. They are in the back room of Republic, which I guess is where people take their breaks, so probably not the best setting for a private conversation. We then see Emmy asking someone in the kitchen what Lake and Brad are talking about, and they inform her that it's about the microaggression Emmy used towards Brad. Emmy then flips her lid like it's the first time she's heard about it. Did she completely disassociate when they were at the Foley house? Michaels told Emmy straight to her face that it could be taken as a microaggression. This bitch is sober and she doesn't even recall. Emmy now thinks that Brad is trying to make her out to be racist. No, all of these people are trying to tell you to be more careful with your words. Justin says he doesn't think that Emmy knows what a microaggression is. And she proves this by bumbling and fumbling and glitching when trying to define what it is in a testimonial. Will somebody put an out of order sign on Emmy, please? Anyway, enough of blabbing about Bravo shows. Let's get to the main event. House of Villains, Season 3, Episode 6. Everyone is coming out of the spaceship after Johnny, Ashley, and Paul have been put up on the hit list. Drita says that putting those three up was a real gangster move, and that Kate is blowing the Orange Room Alliance the fuck up. She then says to Kate, that was like so cool. Kate then looks straight down the camera to us and gives us a look that says, Drita DeBanzo thinks I'm cool, you guys. She then questions whether she's now in the mob. I have to say that Drita has really changed her tune when it comes to Johnny. I'm not entirely sure when that happened, but I do remember an episode or two ago when she was telling Johnny how much she enjoyed watching him on Love Island. I'm not saying that it's a bad strategy to suck up to every supervillain. Also, she didn't do that with Tyson. So maybe it's just a case of her liking both Kate and Johnny. We shall see. Ashley is still sick. She's chilly and sweating and vomiting. A producer comes into her room and says, we're going to have to quarantine the fuck out of you. Take your ass down to the supervillain suite, and a doctor is going to come and check on her tomorrow. Kate tells us that Tyson has no idea how close he came to being on the hit list, and that Tom is a dummy for trusting him. Remember how you said the only person you can trust is yourself, Tom? Go with that. Tiffany is getting lit off Sandoval's cocktails, and honestly, that's a good reason to keep him around, even if he does like to pretend that he's some kind of karate sensei master. We see everyone going to bed. Kate has a handwritten note on her head that reads, lights off, please. I guess the producers control the lighting, which is horrific. It reminds me of Big Brother. In almost every season, there is one or two people that freak the fuck out about the lights still being on when they're trying to sleep. I feel like they go up to the diary room and say, please turn the lights off. And Big Brother is all, we can't turn them off until everybody is in bed. But I've definitely also seen people come into the bedroom when it's dark too, so I'm not sure what the story is there. All I know is that it seems like a form of mental torture. I would not be able to handle that. I don't like full lights on at any point of the day. I'm more of a mood lighting person myself. We then see the terrorist that Tyson truly is, when he goes and turns the thermostat up to what I can only assume is an uncomfortable temperature. I work in Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And to this I say, you let these people control the temperature of the house, but not the lights? How does that make any sense at all? I sure hope Ashley's on a different temperature gauge downstairs, because she's already soaked her sheets in sweat. Tyson says to Tom, do you ever lay awake in bed and think about how cool we are? Tom says, yeah, man. I can genuinely say from the bottom of my heart that I know that these two men are the only people who have ever thought that about themselves and each other. Kate can't sleep because she's sweating balls. She says it's so hot and she's considering sleeping outside. She goes outside and finds a notebook. Intriguing. Kate says there's a clear list signed by Ashley with her allies on the left and her opponents on the right, with Tom in the middle, thus proving that Tom can't trust Tyson. And Kate is going to use this as evidence. It's morning time and we see Johnny Bananas rock up on his Vespa. He needs a spritz and then he sits down to say something over the loudspeaker. But instead of hearing him speak, we get a snapshot of Tom Sandoval singing into his flat iron. For the love of God, can someone make this man stop? You're good at making cocktails, Tom. Stick to that, please. Bing, bong, bing. Bananas says, all right, cheese dicks, see you outside in 30 minutes. He says, New York, bring your can of gasoline. Tiffany is warming up to light some people on fire. They all gather downstairs and Banana says that they have business to attend to. He says Ashley has been sick and she's been rushed to urgent care. Apparently she's been diagnosed with gonorrhea and it affects the Middlebrook region, he says, gesturing towards the crotch. Hilarious, Bananas. He says, in all seriousness, she's been removed from the game. Paul starts freaking out because that's one of his allies. Tom is now freaking out for who knows what reason. I can only assume that he's still upset that Johnny almost put him up on the hit list as a decoy 3 weeks ago. Or perhaps it's his own singing, having a negative effect on his psyche. Banana says that he's here to host the redemption challenge, and there needs to be 3 people for the challenge, so Kate must pick another third. Bum, bum, bum! Kate then brings out the evidence that she found in Ashley's notebook. She picks Tyson. Tom is now on high alert. He says he now feels the need to protect Tyson. Tom, what the fuck? Kate just showed you that you're not in Tyson's alliance, and you still want to protect him? What the hell is happening? And at this point, Johnny feels exposed because Ashley wrote all of this shit down. Ashley really could have used Dorinda Medley in that moment because her sage advice is say it, forget it, write it, regret it. To be fair, Ashley was writing this down in her notebook in front of Johnny and Paul, and it would seem not one of them told her to put the notebook down, that it was a bad idea. Tyson is whining because he had no time to prepare for the redemption challenge. No one does, Tyson. Nobody knows what the challenge is until it arrives. The name of the redemption challenge is Minion Impossible. The challenge consists of choosing dares, which are all worth different amounts of points. The 3 up have to convince the other villains to do dares for them in order for them to win the points. Oh, and they get to do 1 dare themselves. The person with the most points wins. Round 1. They have to convince someone to jump in the pool fully clothed. And I already know that Tom's going to do this for Tyson. Paul looks at Kate, and Kate shakes her head. Absolutely not. Drita says she'll do it for Johnny. She does it because she wants Tyson out. Paul is asking if anyone will do this for him. He doesn't want to do it because he knows that the tasks are going to get worse. That makes sense. Honestly, I think if these people were smart, they'd try and keep Paul over Johnny and Tyson. Paul is less of an egomaniac, which means you can reason with him. That's valuable. Christine decides to do it for Paul. Good for her. She does it because she wants Paul to be her bitch. Christine's jeans with 1,001 pockets damn near drown her. She has to get people to pull her out of the pool. Next round, people have to put on weird outfits, which really doesn't seem that bad. Kate dresses as a slutty nurse for Johnny because she doesn't want Tyson to win. Christine dresses as a superhero, I think, for Paul. And Tom dresses as a slutty maid for Tyson. Honestly, that last sentence felt right even if we're not talking about the challenge. The next round is Villain's Choice. They have 2 options to choose between make out for 30 seconds with someone or banana eating contest. Johnny wants to make out with Christine, but Christine is all no fucking thank you. She'd rather eat every banana in the world than make out with Johnny. Tyson wants to do the makeout. He asks Tiffany, and she agrees. We're then subjected to watching Tyson make out with New York for 30 seconds. He's now Saliva Brothers with Flavor Flav, and he's pretty psyched about it. Christine and Drita are competing in the banana eating competition, and Drita wins, which means Paul is losing. Next round, they have to get someone to put their feet in a box with rats or tarantula on their face. Tiffany gets a spider on her face for Paul, Kate does the rats for Johnny, and Tom does the rats for Tyson. For me, I'd choose rats over a spider any day. I used to have a pet rat, and they're actually pretty smart. As far as I'm aware, they're not going to bite you for no reason. I do feel bad for the rats that they're being subjected to these people's feet, though. Spiders, I'm scared of, and that thing moves fast. I had the heebie-jeebies just watching it crawl all over Tiffany's face. Final round, lie down in a box and have worms tipped all over you for a minute. Paul and Johnny decide to do it themselves. And I don't even know what the fuck Tom is actually thinking, but he decides to do it for Tyson. Is Tom intent on looking like the biggest doormat ever? I don't know. Does he think this will help with his public persona? I do not know. Will it help with his public persona? No, you look like an idiot, Tom. Tyson says that at the end of the challenge, him and Johnny will be tied. He thinks that perhaps the determining factor in the tiebreaker will be who got more minions to do their shit for them. These wormy wormers are biting these mofos all over. It's pretty gross. I feel like I need to have a shower just watching. You have to have respect for Paul, though. He did that knowing that he had already lost, unless he didn't understand that he had already lost. We're down to a tiebreaker between Johnny and Tyson. The tiebreaker is eating giant green worms, and at this point these two are all Hakuna Matata with it. Slimy, yet satisfying. They are chowing down and there is goop flying all out of their mouths. Kate is watching and saying there's no damn way she would do that for 200k. Bananas is gagging just watching. Tyson wins. He ate 30 of those damn things. Johnny ate 29. I'm surprised nobody is barfing. Upstairs, Drita says Tyson was eating those worms like they were popcorn, which means he must be a real villain. Tom is outside, trumpeting without a trumpet, just with his hyaluronic acid-filled lips. I didn't think the noises that he made could get any worse. Turns out they can. Tyson comes to talk to Johnny while Paul is in the shower, probably scrubbing his skin right off with a scouring pad. Anyway, Tyson says that he's going to convince Tom to keep Johnny over Paul. Tyson says that he's seen a lot of things on the internet about how much of a mastermind Paul is, and we have yet to see this side of Paul. I'd like to see that side of Paul. Paul, are you there? Do something! Align yourself with the woman, for goodness sake. Bananas goes to ride off into the night, and his Vespa has carked it. Nope, turns out it's working. Off he goes with no helmet on like the doofus that he is. Tom comes to talk to Kate. Kate tells Tom that he's not the only one that Tyson has been whispering sweet nothings to. Tyson told Kate that they could go to the inn together too. She says Tyson was never including you ever, Tom. And then we see Tyson, like the shifty character that he is, eavesdropping in the doorway. At this point, it would be more appropriate to call him Randall from Monsters, Inc. Tyson walks in and all very nonchalantly says, "What's up, guys?" Tom then straight up asks Tyson, "What the fuck, dude?" Tyson lies straight to Tom's face and says, "I said Tom when me and Kate spoke. There's room for 3 there." You used the word duo a bunch of times, Tyson. Not once did I hear you use the word trio. Tyson says, "Tom, of course we're in this together. We poop in the same toilet. We share the same shower." 2 visuals I absolutely do not need. Tyson is trying to convince Tom that Kate is playing him. But if Tom knows one thing for sure in this game, it's that Kate does not care enough to be playing anyone. Sadly, the banana eating challenge has ruined Drita's love for bananas. Tyson is trying to win Tom back, and Tom isn't sure. Christine then laughs right in the producer's face when they ask, "Is the goal on selling Sunset to sell the most houses?" "No," she says. "It was all about the looks." Paul and Johnny are running around the house groveling. Johnny pulls Tiffany for a chat. Tiffany says that she doesn't trust Paul. He's too wishy-washy for her. And he didn't abuse his power with the hand situation, which I agree. Paul had a chance to make a big move there and didn't. I feel like that's probably going to be his demise. Johnny says his alliance is up in the air. He's lost Ashley, and Paul is probably about to be gone too. Paul is telling Tyson that he would be indebted to him if Tyson kept him. And in the testimonial, I spot on Paul's hand yet another ring that I had in the 90s. He has a ring which has an eye on it. I had one of those, but it was a green eye. It has a very Paul Jennings look to it. For those of you who don't know, Paul Jennings is an Australian author who wrote a bunch of young adult anthologies that were known for blending gross-out humor with supernatural twists and shocking, fast-paced plots. They all had unnames like Unreal, Unbelievable, Uncanny, etc., etc. Those books were also big in the 90s. I loved them growing up. Yet another introspective into my penchant for the unsettling weird and bizarre. No wonder I love body horror movies so much. Anyway, Tyson is disengaging from Paul's rant. Bing, bong, bing! Joel tells us it's 1 hour until the banishment ceremony, and Tyson seems like he's the only one scrambling here, which I find super weird. Paul doesn't really seem to be doing much of anything. Tyson wants Johnny to convince Tom to keep him. Johnny comes to Tom to chat. He says, "Ever since I said I was going to put you up as a decoy, you've been all weird with me, dude." And Tom is like, "No shit." Tom says, "I helped you win Supervillain." Something which is factually true, but I don't think he should be acting like he did it on purpose for Johnny to win. You did it for yourself to win, Tom. He then continues with, "And the next day you say you're going to put me up." Johnny can't hide his douchey shit-eating grin. That's not doing you any favors, Johnny. They're getting pretty heated, and Tom tells Johnny not to dismiss his feelings. They're all bro, 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 bro. Paul loves the fighting. Paul is excited. Johnny insinuates that if there weren't cameras around, Tom would be in serious trouble. This shit is not that serious. Yes, Tom may be a weasel, but you're threatening physical violence, so what does that make you? Tom is now on a warpath. Tom wants Tiffany to vote Johnny out. Drita is upstairs trying to convince Christine to keep Johnny in. Doll comes over the loudspeaker and summons everyone to the spaceship. Paul is wearing a graduation gown with crosses on it. Or is it a priest's gown? I have no idea. They walk in and Joel isn't there. Joel is meandering around the house, causing chaos. He places an envelope in the cupboard. Ooh. Joel enters and asks Kate to take the throne. Johnny and Paul assume their positions by the chairs. In Johnny's final plea, he refers to women as bitches, and then he calls Tom a bitch for having hurt feelings. So I'm like, can we send this misogynistic piece of shit home, please, ladies? Tom loses his shit at Johnny, and it's pretty funny to watch these two idiots get mad at each other. Christine says she's going to have a grand mal seizure, a comment which I find perplexing, but we move on quickly. Paul is making his final plea, and New York is buying nothing he's selling. She says, you're up there wearing that priest robe, but sweetie, ain't nobody asking you for a prayer or a communion cracker, which is a lol. Paul pipes down, and the people vote. And at a vote of 4-1, the villain leaving is Johnny. Bye, Johnny! Paul is in shock. Smart move, house. That's it for episode 6, you guys. Thanks for listening. See ya! Wouldn't want to be ya.